the Transmission Control Protocol, TCP. So, in the previous class, we discussed about the User Datagram Protocol, UDP, right? So, UDP is a connectionless and unreliable protocol. This is what we have discussed. Okay. So, in this session, we'll be discussing completely about the Transmission Control Protocol, most commonly called as TCP. Okay. So, this is one of the important protocols in the transport layer. So, like UDP only, TCP is also a process to process protocol. So we were discussing right from the our discussion about the transport layer protocols that in transport layer we have process to process communication, right? So for this process to process communication we require TCP protocol. Okay, and also like UDP, TCP is going to use port numbers for identifying the processes. But one difference between the TCP and UDP is TCP is a connection oriented protocol, okay, whereas UDP is a connectionless protocol. It in the sense TCP is a connection oriented protocol means it is going to create virtual connection. Okay, this could be a sender and this could be a receiver. Now this sender and receiver are going to connect with each other with the help of a virtual connection. Okay, so this virtual connection helps these two parties, that is helps these two, I mean the sender and the receiver, to transfer data between themselves. Okay, also TCP is going to provide flow control and error control mechanism also, whereas UDP do not provide flow control and error control mechanism except checksum. Okay, so finally what we can say, TCP is a connection oriented protocol. It is a reliable transport protocol. Okay, so what it is going to do, it is going to add these connection oriented facility and reliability facility to the services of IP. So if you remember IP, that is Internet Protocol, IP is going to provide best effort delivery. Okay, it is not. It will try to provide or it will try to deliver a particular packet as best as possible, but it does not guarantee the reliability of that particular packet. So for this reason, on top of IP, that is in the network layer, we have IP, right? So on top of IP, that is in the transport layer, now this transmission control protocol is going to ensure reliability of the data, and it is also a connection oriented protocol. Okay, next. So now we are going to discuss about some services which are provided by the TCP. The first thing is process to process communication, as just discussed. Like UDP, TCP is going to provide the process to process communication using the port numbers. So UDP uses some well-known port numbers, right? So similarly, TCP is also going to use some well-known port numbers. Some port numbers among these port numbers which were listed here are common to both TCP and UDP, and there are some port numbers which are used exclusively by TCP. That is, port number 7 is for echo, 9 is for discard, 11 is for users, 13 is for daytime, and so on up to 111 is for RPC, remote procedure call. Okay. So the second service provided by TCP is stream delivery service. Okay, so if you remember in UDP, okay, if a particular transport layer protocol uses UDP, it can only send small amount of data. Okay, but when compared to TCP, when transport layer is going to use TCP, then TCP is called a stream oriented protocol. That is, it can send data in streams. That is, a long sequence of messages can be sent if we are using the TCP protocol. Okay, and if you see in UDP, okay, what UDP does, a process or a particular application program is going to send a message, and that too with predefined boundaries. Okay, so to deliver a particular message, here we have a predefined boundary, that is each and every chunk is having its own predefined boundary. Okay, so for this, for along with this information, it is going to add some header. Okay, and this UDP protocol delivers this to IP protocol, which is in the network layer. Okay, so every message from this particular process is called user datagram. Okay, so when we are discussing about the UDP protocol, we call those data chunks as datagrams. Okay, that is the reason why we are going to call it as user datagram protocol. Okay, and one thing you have to remember is that neither IP nor UDP, they will not recognize any relationship between the datagrams. See, when we discussed about UDP, if you remember, if this is the source and this is the destination, or one UDP, one datagram may go in one path, the other datagram may go in another path, the third datagram may go in another path. Even though the message is related to each other at the source, when they are being delivered, there is no relationship between these message chunks if we are going to use UDP protocol. Okay, but if you see TCP, on the other hand, what actually it does, it is going to allow the sending process to deliver the data in the form of stream of bytes. UDP will not provide any stream delivery of data, but TCP allows the data to be delivered with respect to streams. Okay. Now, what it is going to do now, TCP, the transmission control protocol, is going to create an environment. So, where these two processes, that is, this is the sending process and this is the receiving process. So we'll have an imaginary tube. Okay, so this imaginary tube is used to send and receive the data across the internet. Okay, so what this sending process will do, this sending process produces the information and it writes this information into this particular tube, and through this tube the data is being transferred, and in the receiving process reads the information from the tube, or it consumes the information from the tube, and the receiving process will read that particular information. So this is how the TCP is going to provide the stream delivery. The third kind of thing we have to discuss is sending and receiving buffers. Okay, so we just discussed that the TCP protocol is going to provide a stream delivery. Okay, but when we are dealing with large amount of data, okay, both the sender, let us say this is sender and this is receiver. Okay, sender speed is different from receiver speed. That is, both sender and receiver cannot send and receive at the same speed. Okay, so obviously if there is a speed mismatch, we should have a provision to have something, some feature or some concept which helps us to deal with this speed mismatch. So this concept is what we are going to call it as buffer. Okay, so what does this buffer will do means, we'll just see. First of all, there will be two buffers. That is, for sender side we have sending buffer. Okay, and at receiver side we have receiving buffer. Okay, so what is sender buffer and receiver buffer do, we'll just see. Okay, so now if you see here, to implement this buffer, we are going to use a concept of circular array of some I byte locations, that is with some number of byte locations. Okay, so for simplicity here only 20 bytes have been shown, but normally in real time implementations there are hundreds and thousands of bytes will be there basing upon the implementation. Okay, so now we'll see how this sending and receiving buffers are going to work. Now, at the sender side, what actually happens is, the sender side, this particular buffer is going to have three types of chambers. The first chamber is the white section. If you see, this is the white part. See this one. This is the white part. So what does this white part specify? It specifies that it is an empty chamber. That is, the sending process can fill its data in this byte part. Okay, after this byte completed, next this byte, next this byte, next this byte, next this byte, and so on. Okay, so this white part allows the sending process to fill the data by the sending process. Now there is a next chamber or next area called blue area. So what does this blue area specify is that it is going to hold the bytes which have already been sent. That is, this sender has sent some bytes to the receiving process. Okay, so those byte values will be there. Okay, and now it is waiting for the acknowledgement to be received from the receiver. Okay, so this signifies the blue value. Okay, so if the receiver sends the acknowledgement and if the sender successfully receives the acknowledgement, now again the blue color will be again converted to white color. Okay, and now what about this pink area? This is the third chamber. It contains the bytes which are to be sent by the sending process. That is, this pink area specifies it is yet to send this many number of bytes. Okay, so when acknowledgement comes, the corresponding blue chamber will be converted to white chamber. Okay, so like that, this kind of thing will be done. So this is the reason why we have represented it with this with the help of a circular queue. Why? If you see, sir, I'm not circular, okay, circular array. Okay, so if soon after the acknowledgement comes, now this blue value will be converted to white. That is, now the number of available positions will be increasing when the acknowledgement comes. Okay, so this is how the sending process buffer is going to work. Okay, now if you see, if you observe, the TCP is going to send its information only in the pink part, isn't it? So this part is the one which is the sender process yet to send this information to the receiver. So why it is able to send only this particular part? Because in the later discussions we'll be discussing about some problems in the network called congestion. Okay, so due to congestion in the network, or due to the slowness of the receiving power of the receiving process. Okay, as just we discussed that the sending process may have one capability, and the receiving process may have and another capability. That is, both are not same at sending and receiving. That is, both do not work at the same speed. Okay, so due to this reason, the sender can send only some part of information. Okay, so as already told, when the values in this blue part are acknowledged, then immediately they are converted into white color. So this is the reason why we are going to show this with the help of a circular buffer. Okay, now, so now coming to the receiving side. In the receiving side, it is very simple to implement this one. It is only divided into two areas. Okay, what is the one? A white color one and the pink color one. So what the white color one specify? Obviously, it will specify the empty chambers. Okay, these values should be filled by the bytes which are received from the network. Okay, so these values are the values or bytes which are sent by the sender, right? Now these values, that is this pink value, come and sit in this first white value, and again the next pink value come and sit here, and again the third pink value come and sit here, and so on. It will be filled like this. Okay, now what about this colored section? This pink colored section, it is going to contain the bytes which are already received. Okay, soon after it receive the byte, a particular byte, it will be converted to pink color. Okay, so after receiving it, now what it will do, this byte, the first byte which it has received successfully will be read by the receiving process. Soon after the receiving process reads this particular byte, it is again converted to white color, so that it is again empty, so that it is added to the empty spaces. Okay, so like this, the receiving buffer and sending buffer are going to work. So why we are using the concept of buffers? Due to two reasons. That is, due to speed mismatch, the receiver cannot receive the information which is sent by the sender if the sender is working with more speed when compared to the receiver, and there is also a problem of congestion in the network in real time. Okay, so for this reason, we obviously need buffering concepts or buffers concept. The next one is about segments. So now we'll see what are segments here. So just now we discussed that the concept of buffering is going to handle the difference between the speed mismatch. That is the difference between the speeds of the producer and the consumer. That is the sender and the receiver. Now we need an extra step before we are going to send the data. So we'll see what that step is. So the IP layer, which is the service provider for TCP, right? Isn't it? So this is the network layer and this is the transport layer, right? The network layer is going to provide the service to the transport layer. So this is called, most commonly called as IP layer also. Okay, so this IP layer is going to provide some service to the TCP, because now actually TCP needs to send the data in the form of packets, isn't it? Obviously, in transport layer we are going to send the stream of data, but when it comes to the network layer, it should be converted into packets, isn't it? So here in the transport layer, in this layer, that is in the transport layer, what TCP is going to do, it groups all the number of bytes together into a single packet. So this single packet, that is the number of bytes which are packed together, which are formed into a group, is called a segment. Okay, now what this TCP is going to do, it adds a header part to each of these segments, okay, and delivers this complete segment to the IP layer for the transmission, that is to the network layer. That is, this is the segment. Now it adds header to this segment and it handles the complete packet to this particular network layer for transmission from the network layer to data link layer and so on. Okay, now, so here if you see, these segments are encapsulated in the IP datagrams. That is, segments in the transport layer will come to the network layer. They are encapsulated and they are converted into IP datagrams and they are then transmitted. Okay, so this entire operation obviously is transparent to the receiving process. That is, when there are segments which are received out of order or lost or corrupted, they are all recent. Okay, so when the segments are received by the receiver out of order, or if they are lost, or if they are corrupted, actually now the sending TCP layer must have a notification from the receiving TCP. Only when the sender receives this information, then only can resend all these out of order packets or lost packets or corrupted packets. So all these kinds of things are handled by the TCP within the uh, sender process. But if you see here, the TCP layer which is in the receiving process is unaware of uh, actually, one second. Okay, so all these kinds of processes, I mean, all these kinds of out of order or lost packets or corrupted packets, all these are handled by the TCP. Okay, so the receiving process is unaware. That is, this is the actual process with which we wanted to communicate, right? So this receiving process is unaware of all these kinds of disturbances in the network. So it is the duty of the TCP layer, or it is the duty of the transport layer, which is implementing this TCP protocol, to deal with all these out of order packets or lost packets or corrupted packets. Okay, so if you see, this is how the in this figure it shows how the TCP segments are created. The sending process is sending the information. We all know what is this pink color and blue color and so on. See, the some set of bytes are taken and they are formed into segments. If you see here, this is the segment 1 and segment 2, so on up to segment n. There is no need that each and every segment is of same size. Okay, here this segment consists of only 3 bytes and this segment consists of 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 bytes. Okay, so like this, there could be n number of segments with different bytes specified in each and every segment. Okay. So this is what we have just discussed here, that segments are not necessarily the same size. The first one is of 3 bytes and the second one is of 5 bytes. So in real time, these segments can carry hundreds and thousands of bytes. Okay. Next thing is full duplex communication. In full duplex communication, TCP is going to provide full duplex service. So we know that there are different types of communications, that is simplex, half duplex and full duplex, right? So TCP is going to offer the full duplex communication, that is data is going to flow in both the directions simultaneously. Okay, so each TCP is going to have sending buffer and receiving buffer, and all these segments move to and fro, that is move in the both the directions. Okay, next the sixth thing is connection oriented service. So in UDP we have connection less service, and in TCP we have connection oriented service. So this is the reason why we are going to call TCP protocol as a connection oriented protocol. So now when there is a sender A and the receiver B is there, if a particular node A or sender A wants to send the information to the receiver B, the following things occur. The first thing is that the TCP must establish a connection between them. That is, the sender side TCP protocol and the receiver side TCP protocol must establish a connection between them. And the second step is the data must be exchanged between these two connections. And the third one is the connection will be terminated. We will be looking after how these concepts, that is how connection is established, how data is exchanged, how connection is terminated. All these details will be dealt when we are discussing about the connection establishment process of TCP, maybe within just 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, the next type of service is reliable service. And as we already told, TCP is a reliable transport protocol. So how it is going to provide reliability? The TCP protocol is going to use acknowledgement mechanism. Okay, so it checks whether a particular acknowledgement has come for a data packet, and if the acknowledgement is not coming, it ensures that it thinks that the data packet has been lost, and it is going to employ some kind of mechanisms. Okay, that we'll be discussing later. So by this, it is going to provide some reliable services. Okay. So these are all the different types of services provided by the TCP protocol. Now, features of TCP. Okay, first thing is numbering system. So the TCP software is going to keep track of the segments which are being transmitted, and it is also going to keep track of segments which are being received. But the thing is that here, for segment number, we do not have a special field. So in the segment header, shortly we'll be looking after the TCP header. In this header, we do not have any field for segment number. Okay. So instead of this, we are having two fields. That first field is sequence number and acknowledgement number. To specify the information about these segments, we have one field called sequence number, and there is another field called acknowledgement number. Okay. So what these two fields are going to refer to? They refer to the byte number. Okay. So we'll see how we are going to specify a segment, a byte number, and so on. Okay. So these two values refer to the byte number. They does not refer to the segment number. Okay. Second thing, byte numbering. Okay, so now TCP is going to number all the bytes which are in the transmission. Okay, so when the connection has been established, now TCP is going to number all the bytes. Okay, now, and this numbering is independent in each direction. That is, numbering from source to destination is different from numbering from destination to source. Okay, now, when the TCP is going to receive some amount of data, some bytes of data from a particular process, what it will do? It stores that information in the sending buffer and it numbers them, and then it will transfer to the destination. And now the question is that how do we number these bytes? So generally we'll start our numbering from zero, right? But here TCP, it is not needed for TCP to always start the number from zero. Okay, so we can start the number from a particular random number using some random number generator. We'll start the segment numbering, or we'll start the byte numbering with some random amount of number, and that too, that number should be in between 0 and 2 power 32 minus 1. Okay, next, so if you let us see an example. Let us say now TCP is going to give some number to the first segment. That is, the first segment number is 1057. That is, we have randomly generated 1057 number, and the total data we wanted to send is 6000 bytes. Okay, then how the bytes will be numbered? So what is the starting number of this particular byte? 1057, right? 1057. So how many bytes we are yet to send? 6000 bytes, right? So we have to send 6000 bytes. Okay, so then what will be this value? 7507. That is 7057. So total how many bytes? 7057 bytes. That is 0 to 7056 bytes. So total 7057 amount of bytes. So this is how we are going to give the byte numbering. So why this byte numbering is needed? Byte number is used for flow control and error control purposes. So one thing, the final thing which we have to note about this byte numbering and so on is the bytes of the data which are being transferred in each and every connection are numbered by the TCP. We know that, but the thing we have to remember is this numbering is randomly generated number. It is not generated sequentially. That is, that numbering do not always start with zero. It will be a random number. Okay. Next, the third thing is sequence number. So after numbering of these bytes have completed, now what happens? TCP is going to assign sequence number to each segment. Okay, for first segment there is one sequence number, second segment, third segment, fourth segment. So like that, for each and every segment the TCP is sending, it assigns a particular sequence number. Okay, so what will the sequence number will be? So for each and every segment, the sequence number will be the number of the first byte carried in the segment. That is, this is segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4. Okay, if this segment carries 5 bytes, if this segment carries 5 bytes, what will be the segment number? The first byte is 1, right? And now this segment carries bytes from 6 to 10, let us suppose. Okay, now what will be this segment number? 6, because the starting byte value is 6. And if it is carrying from 11 to some 20, So what will be the number of this one? 11. So like that we are going to number them basing upon the number of the first byte which is carried in the segment. So if you see, we'll see an example here, it will be more clear. Let us assume that a TCP connection is transferring a file of 6000 bytes. Now what is the first byte numbered? The first byte is numbered as 10010. Okay, the first byte is numbered as 10,010. Okay, now they are asking what are the sequence numbers for each segment if data is sent in five segments. That is, we have five segments: one, two, three, four, and five segments. Okay, now these first four segments are carrying how many bytes? 1000 bytes, and the last segment is carrying 2000 bytes. Now what will be the sequence numbers for each and every segment they are asking? Okay, let us see how we are going to define. So what is the starting number? Starting number is 10,010. So when the starting number is 10,010, obviously the sequence number for the segment one will be the starting number only. Okay, so how many number of bytes this segment one is carrying? 1000 bytes. So what will be the range? 10,010 to 11,009. So add 1000 to 10,010. That is 11,010 will be there. But we'll take up to 2 power 32 minus 1. See, if you see here, if you see, we told here this is 2 power 32 minus 1. Okay. So if we add 1000 to this one, what happens? 11,010 minus 1 means 11,009. So the sequence number for this first segment is 10,010. Okay, because this is the first byte number. Okay, now what will be the second byte number? 11,010, right? Because up to 11,009 bytes are in the first segment. What will be the second segment number? First number 11,010. How many bytes it is carrying? 10,000 bytes. So 11,010 to 12,009, and the sequence number is 11,010. Similarly for the third one, 12,010. For the third one, 13,010. Okay, and the last segment is carrying how many? 2000 bytes. So 14,010 plus 2000 means 16,010. So initial sequence number will be 14,010 and the last value will be 16,009. Okay, so this is how we are going to number the segments basing upon the first value in this particular range. Okay, నాన్న అర్థమైంది కదా అందరికి సెగ్మెంట్ నెంబర్స్ ఎలా ఇస్తున్నాము? సెగ్మెంట్ 1, సెగ్మెంట్ 2, సెగ్మెంట్ 3 నెంబర్స్ ఎలా ఇస్తున్నాము అర్థమే కదా? బాబు చెప్పండి రా, అర్థమైందా
Yes,
లేదా?
sir. Yes, sir.
ఎవరో ఒకళ్ళిద్దరు
Yes, sir.
చెప్తారు,
Yes, sir.
అందరూ పడుకుంటారు. Okay, so one thing to note again here, the value of the sequence number in a segment defines the number of the first data byte. Okay, very important. It specifies the segment number will be specifying the first data byte contained in that particular segment. Okay. Next, the fourth concept we have to look after is acknowledgement number. So we just discussed that the communication in TCP is a full duplex communication. That is, both the sender and receiver can communicate with each other simultaneously. Okay. So now when a connection has been established between sender and receiver, both the parties, that is both sender and receiver, can receive the data at the same time. Okay. So each and every party, that is the sender and receiver, okay, can number the bytes, right? So this sender can number its own bytes with different starting byte number, and the receiver can also number its own bytes with the different starting byte number. Okay, so what does this specify? The sequence number in each of the direction shows the number of the first byte carried by the segment, obviously, right? So if it is sending a particular segment with some it is containing 1000 bytes, okay, and the initial random number it is started is, let us say, some 10,000 is initial starting random number generated. So what will be the first value? What will be the first value? 10,002. So previously we done the same thing, right? 1,010, isn't it? So here also, if you see that the initial random number is 10,000. 10,002, what will be the value? 1000 means. What will be the value will be there? 11,000? 11,000 minus 1. 11,000 minus 1. Okay. That is 10,999. Okay. So this is the range of sequence numbers. Okay, so here the sequence number in each direction, that is either in the sending direction or the receiving direction, what does they specify? They specify the number of the first byte which is carried by the segment. Okay, and also each party, that is both sender and receiver, also uses acknowledgement number to confirm whether that byte has been received or not. Okay, for this reason, we'll be using the concept of acknowledgement number. Okay, now the acknowledgement number defines the number of the next byte that the party expects to receive. Very important point. This is very important point. Just see, I'll tell you a small example. See, let us say this is the sender and this is the receiver. Okay. Now sender A has sent the first byte. Okay. Now receiver has received the first byte. Now what the receiver will send is, now it send acknowledgement number as 2. So what is the meaning of this one means? Now the receiver has received all the bytes up to 2 and it is expecting the next byte is second byte. అర్థమైందా? I will tell you another example. Okay, so sender has sent the first byte, it received the first byte. Send the second byte, it received the second byte. It sent the third byte, it received the third byte successfully. Now the receiver wants to send the acknowledgement. Now what it will send the acknowledgement? It will send the acknowledgement as 4. What is the meaning of this one? That is, the receiver has received all the bytes up to 3 and it is expecting fourth byte as the next byte. So it in turn specifies that it requests the fourth byte and it also got all the 3 bytes successfully. Okay, so this is what he is telling here. The acknowledgement number, that is the 4, it defines the number of the next byte that the party is expecting to receive. That is, now the receiver is expecting the fourth byte and it already received all the 3 bytes. Okay, so this is the meaning, exact meaning of this one. Okay, and also the acknowledgement number is cumulative. So if you see just now, for first byte it received the first byte, second byte it received the second byte, third byte it received the third byte. Now the receiver has sent the acknowledgement number as 4. Okay, so that means all 1 2 3 it has received, isn't it? So it is going to send the acknowledgement number for the last byte. That is, it is going to send that. When it is going to send the value as 4, it is telling that all the 3 bytes it has received and it is expecting the fourth byte now. Okay, next. So here the term cumulative means that if a particular sender or receiver uses 5643 as acknowledgement, then what is the meaning of that? Can anyone tell me? If a particular receiver send 5643 as an acknowledgement to sender, what is the meaning of that? That is, it received all the bytes from the starting number to 5642 bytes. Now it is expecting which one? 5643. Okay. The point which we have to remember is the value of the acknowledgement field in a given segment defines the number of the next byte a particular party is expecting to receive. Okay, that is you have to remember. The next thing is flow control. So what is flow control? So in UDP we do not have any flow control, but in TCP we have flow control. Okay, now the receiver of the data, that is, you see this is the sender and this is the receiver. Now the receiver of this particular data controls the amount of information which should be sent by the sender. Okay, now let us say I tell you the class in the following manner. The receiver of data controls the amount of data that is sent by the receiver. This is done to prevent the receiver from being overwhelmed with data. Okay, so if I say you like this, what will you say? What is the response from your side? Okay, so now you will say, or you would tell to me that, sir, please don't read the information on the slide, please explain, and please don't go fast, please explain it somewhat slower. Okay, so this is what you're telling. So you are identifying that the sender is overwhelming the receiver with the information. So now the receiver will send some notification to sender, please don't send the information that much fast because I am unable to process this information. Okay, so this notification is called flow control. That is, the receiver of this data is going to control the amount of data which should be sent by the sender. Okay, so why we do this is used to prevent the receiver from being overwhelmed with the large amount of data. Okay, so the numbering system, this numbering systems, that is, we are numbering the each and every segment, right? So this numbering system allows the TCP protocol to use a byte oriented flow control. Okay, The next thing is error control. Obviously, to provide a reliable service, TCP should implement error control mechanism. Okay, so this flow control and error control mechanism, when we are discussing about these concepts, it will be more clearer for us. Okay, next, the last thing is congestion control. Also, unlike UDP, TCP is taking into account about the congestion in the networks. Okay, so TCP acts accordingly with respect to the congestion in the network. If there is no congestion, it is going to send more and more data. If it expects that congestion is coming, if it expects that congestion is inevitable, then it is going to do its own strategy. So how it is going to manage with the congestion and so on, that is also for the some other class. Okay, so here the amount of data which a sender is sending is not only controlled by the receiver, that is which we just discussed about as flow control, but it is also determined by the level of congestion in the network. So basing upon the level of congestion in the network, basing upon the receiver capacity, now it is the duty of the sender to send the data. That is, sender while sending the data to the receiver, it has to take into consider two things. That is, the first thing is receiver capacity, and the second one is the level of congestion in the network. Okay, so these are all the basic things which we have to remember while we were discussing about the TCP protocol. Okay, so let us now quickly jump into the next concept, very important concept called segment. Okay, now a packet in TCP is called a segment. So what is a segment? A packet in TCP is called as segment. If you see here, this is a segment. Okay, so this is a segment. Now this segment is consisting of data part, and it is also consisting of header part. So this data part, so from where did it get this data part? Can anyone answer me? From where did it get this TCP get this data part? From where did this get this data part? Obviously it got this data part from the application layer only, right? So this is application layer data part, the application layer packet. Okay, again now here we have application layer header, and we are here we have application layer data. Now this complete information will be encapsulated as data part in the transport layer, and the transport layer now adds its own header part. Okay, so this complete value, this complete packet in this transport layer is called as segment. So now we have to look after what does a TCP header consist of. That is, TCP header consists of all these different values, right? If you see, these are all the different values available in the TCP header. Okay, so we have to discuss about each and everything one by one. Okay, we'll just discuss now. So if you see, just a second. Okay, so we'll just go through each and everything. I'm just going to clear. Okay, the first thing is source port address. As in UDP, we discussed about source port address and destination port address. Okay, source port address is used to identify the source process, and destination port address is used to identify the destination process. Both source port address and destination port address are 16 bits each. Okay, the next thing is sequence number. The sequence number is 32 bits long. Okay, so what is the sequence number? It defines the number which is assigned to the first byte of the data which is present in this segment. Just now we discussed about the sequence number, right? The sequence number represents about the first byte of data which is present in a given segment, isn't it? So this is sequence number. Okay, next thing is acknowledgement number. It is also 32-bit number. So it defines the byte number that the receiver of the segment is expecting to receive from the other party. That is, be that party be either sender or receiver. That is, acknowledgement number means then the value, the number of bytes it is expecting from either sender or receiver. Okay, the next thing is HLEN, which is 4 bits. That is header length. Okay, so this 4-bit field is going to indicate as the number of 4-byte words present in the TCP header. Okay, so this length of the header can be between 20 bytes to 60 bytes. Okay, so how we are going to tell this as 20 bytes to 60 bytes means the value of this field can be between okay, actually, so this range is from 20 bytes to 60 bytes. That means there is some field called options and padding field. Okay, so if options and padding field is present, then the total header size will be 60 bytes. If this options and padding field is not present, then the total header size will be 20 bytes. Okay, the next thing, reserved. This reserved is, there are 6 bits which are reserved for the future use. There is no significance right now. This is used for the future representation. And the next thing is control. Okay, so these are the control bits, very very important bits. These are the control bits. So how many bits are there? 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 control bits are there. So let us see what does these control bits are present. Okay, but remember one thing is that one or more of these bits can be set at a time. That is, both all of them can be set at a time, or only these two can be set. Set means the value can be either one at this place or this place or this place and so on. Okay, so let us now see what is the significance of all these control field bits. Okay, urg, the first one is urg means urgent pointer. Okay, urgent pointer, what does this urgent pointer specifies means, see, if you remember, when we have an usual, or we have a normal traffic going on the road. What if suddenly an ambulance comes? If suddenly an ambulance comes, what we will do, we'll give the road to that particular ambulance because it is carrying some urgent information. So at times in the data communication or data transfer, okay, so when sender is sending some information to the receiver normally, and at a particular moment of time, if the sender has to send a very immediate data or a very urgent data, then it immediately sets this urgent pointer, sets this urgent bit to 1, so that first of all this value should be delivered, this data should be delivered to the receiver, and later on the other data will be following this urgent pointer. Okay, the next thing is ack is nothing but acknowledgement. So acknowledgement is nothing but it is going to provide the information about the acknowledgement. The next one is PSH, that is pushing the data. Okay, so this we'll be discussing next. RST means reset. Okay, it is used to reset the connection. Next, SYN, SYN-bit. SYN-bit is used for synchronizing purposes. That is, to establish a connection, we need these SYN bits. Okay. Next, FIN, FIN-bit. FIN-bit is used to terminate the connection. So remember, SYN bit is used for, SYN bit is used for establishing the connection, whereas FIN bit is used for terminating the connection. Okay, and the next field is window size, which is 16 bits. Okay, so this field specifies the, or it defines the size of the window in bytes. Okay, so that is when they are transferring the data between each other, so this specifies the size of the window that either party should maintain, that is either sender or receiver should maintain. Next, the next field is checksum field, which is of 16 bits. Okay, so this calculation of checksum is exactly same when we compare this with the UDP checksum value. Okay, so it is for error correction. Okay, and the next one is urgent pointer. So this is urgent pointer, which is of 16 bits. Okay, so this urgent pointer field is valid only if this particular urgent flag is set. See, this is urgent flag. Okay, so when this urgent flag is set, then only this urgent pointer field is valid. Okay, so what does it define means, it defines the number that must be added to the sequence number to obtain the number of the last urgent byte in the data section of the segment. What is the meaning of this one? See, I already told you that if the urgent pointer is set, it has to send the urgent data first, and then it has to send all the other data. Okay, so for this purpose, it is going to use the urgent pointer. Okay, and the last and final field is options and padding. Okay, so this is an optional field which can have up to 40 bytes of information. Okay, in the TCP header. Okay, so these are all the different parts of the TCP header format. Okay. So this is the control field. Just we have discussed about this control field: URG, pointer, ACK, PSH, RST, SYN, and FIN bit. Okay, so these bits are mainly used for these purposes, that is flow control, connection establishment and termination, connection closing or connection abortion, and the mode of data transfer in the TCP. Okay. So this is the description of the flag just now discussed. The URG means the value of the urgent pointer field is valid. ACK means the value of acknowledgement field is valid. PSH means pushing the data. RST means resetting the connection. SYN means synchronizing the sequence number during the connection. FAN means to terminate the connection. So this is all about the header part of TCP. Now we are going to discuss about a TCP connection. So we came to know that by now, by our discussion we came to know that TCP is a connection oriented protocol, right? Okay, so what is the meaning of connection oriented protocol? It means the protocol establishes a virtual path between the source and the destination. That means, so if this is sender and this is receiver, we have a virtual path established between the source and the destination, or the sender and the receiver. All the segments now which are being sent from the source to destination must be sent through this particular virtual path only. They have to follow this particular virtual path only. Okay, so what is the advantage of having this virtual path? Means using a single virtual path allows the entire message to go in the same virtual path, and it helps us for the acknowledgement process. That is to make the acknowledgement process easier, to maintain the information about the damaged frames and lost frames and all. This virtual circuit or virtual path is going to be established. So as a result of establishing virtual path, now the lost frames and damaged frames can be easily identified. Okay, if this path is not there, we cannot easily identify the damaged frames or lost frames. This is the case with UDP actually, right? Because UDP is not going to provide any reliability and it is connectionless protocol. So now you may wonder how this TCP protocol is going to be connection oriented if it is going to use the services of IP, which is a connectionless protocol. If you see in the network layer, we have an IP protocol, right? And in the transport layer, we have now TCP protocol. So this IP protocol is a connectionless protocol. As just I already said, it provides a best effort delivery. It tries for a best effort delivery, but it is not a connection oriented protocol. But on the top we have TCP. Now this TCP is going to provide the connection oriented communication. Okay, so how it is going to provide this reliability, how it can be called as connection oriented, how TCP can be called as connection oriented protocol means, here the TCP connection is virtual connection. Okay, it is not a physical connection. Okay, so it is going to establish a virtual path. Okay, so obviously you know that the TCP operates at the higher level when compared to the network level. So what TCP is going to do, it is going to use the services of this particular IP, okay, to deliver all these individual segments to the receiver. Okay, but the connection, that is the virtual connection between the sender and receiver, is controlled by the TCP itself. Okay, so IP is no way concerned with controlling this connection. Only TCP is used for controlling the connection. So if a particular segment has been either lost or it is corrupted, okay, obviously it will be retransmitted. Okay, but do remember that IP is not aware of all these retransmissions. It is TCP which looks after all these damaged frames or lost. Okay, so and then another important thing is that if the segment is going to arrive out of order at the destination, so what it will do, TCP holds all these missing segments, okay, and then it tries to reorder all these things. And this kind of reordering is unaware of, IP is unaware, IP protocol is unaware of reordering all these things. So all this overhead will be taken care by the TCP protocol only. Okay. So in TCP, the connection-oriented transmission requires how many number of phases? It requires three number of phases. The first one is connection establishment, the second one is data transfer, and the third one is connection termination. So in a connection-oriented protocol, we have three phases. The first one, connection establishment phase, second one, data transfer phase, and the third one is connection termination phase. So let us now see about these three phases, that is connection establishment phase, the data transfer phase, and connection termination phase. The first one, connection establishment phase. So in this connection establishment phase, what actually happens is, we know that the TCP is going to transmit the data in the full duplex mode. The TCP is going to transmit the data in the full duplex mode. So if this is the sender and this is the receiver, when the two TCPs in the two machines, that is here in the sender and receiver, in the sender we have a TCP protocol, and the receiver we have a TCP protocol. When these two TCPs in these two machines are connected to each other, now they are allowed and they are able to send the segments to each other simultaneously using full duplex communication. That is, what does this mean? This means that the sender must initialize the communication and the receiver must approve it, and also the receiver must initialize the connection and the sender must approve it. Only then both sender and receiver can send and receive the data simultaneously. So for this kind of connection establishment, we use a concept called three-way handshaking. So let us say what is three-way handshaking? That is, connection establishment happens in three different phases. For this reason, we call this as three-way handshaking. Okay, so let us take an example. So this is the source and this is the destination. Now there is an application program available at the source. Okay, so let us call this application program as client. Okay, now this application program or client wants to connect with another application program at the destination, which is called as server. Okay, now these two communicate with each other using TCP as their transport protocol. Of course, we know that fact. Okay, now the process starts with the server. What the server will do, now see, this is sender and this is receiver, right? Now the process, when it starts at the receiver, okay, the receiver has a process called server process, the sender has a process called client process. Okay, now what the server program will do, the server program will tell its TCP protocol that it is ready to accept the connection from the sender. Okay, do remember, don't get confused. The receiver or the server tells its TCP protocol that it is ready for accepting the connection from the sender. Okay, so when the server sends a request to its TCP protocol that it is ready for accepting the connection, at this moment of time, we call this request as passive open. We call this state as passive open. Okay, so that is now the server TCP is ready to accept the connection. Even though it is ready, it cannot make the connection itself. That is, it cannot directly connect to the client itself. Okay, the client must also accept this connection. Okay, so when server is ready for accepting the connection, then we are going to call it as passive open. Okay, the next. Now later, now the client program is going to again issue a request for active open. So what the client will say, the client at the sender side will tell its TCP protocol that I want to connect to this server. So when it tells that it wanted to connect to this server, it sends the request. Now the server accepts this request. Then we call it as active open. Okay. So then this request is called active open. So finally there will be a connection established. So if you see here, this is the diagrammatic representation. This is a three-way handshaking mechanism. So this is one the timeline of the client. This one timeline is this one. Okay. So this is the timeline of the client and this is the timeline of the server. Okay. So if you see, initially the client is going to send a particular okay. So here the client is going to send this particular information. So A means acknowledgement flag, S means SYN flag. Just now we saw about the six flag, right? Urgent flag, acknowledgement flag, SYN flag, FIN flag, and so on. Okay. So if you see here, actually now the client is going to send the first packet. Okay, and then the receiver in the sense server is going to send the acknowledgement. I'll clearly explain. I'm just telling you what is this three-way handshake. This is the one, this is two, and this is three. So for this reason we call this as three-way handshake. That is, they are going to exchange these three packets in order to establish their communication. Okay, now let us see these three steps in detail. The first step, let us just discuss about the first step. So the client first sends the first segment, which is called a SYN segment. Okay, this is the first segment which is called a SYN segment. Okay, so we already discussed that SYN segment is used for connection establishment, right? So for this reason, we are going to send a SYN segment where only the SYN flag is set. So in the TCP header, only the SYN flag will be only set. So when the SYN flag is set, now it is the thing that the client is ready to send a particular connection establishment request to the server. Okay, so this segment, the SYN segment, it is going to send this SYN segment, right? So why is this SYN segment used? It is used for the synchronization of the sequence number, because after establishing the connection, they are going to transfer the data, right? So the SYN segment is first of all used for synchronization of the sequence number. So This whenever it sends a SYN segment, it is going to consume one sequence number. Okay, so it consumes one sequence number. So after the data transfer starts, that is after sending the SYN segment, when the data transfer starts, the sequence number will be incremented by one, obviously, isn't it? So even though this particular segment does not carry any data, it has a sequence number. Okay. Okay, so now this is the first phase. So in the first phase, the client has sent the SYN segment telling the server that I wanted to get a connection with you. Okay, so prior to this one, what actually happens? The server in the server program tells it TCP that it is ready to accept the connection from the client. So that is the reason it is in the passive open state. So after completing this process, now this first phase will start. Now coming to the second phase. Okay, so before discussing the second phase, an important information is there here. See, in a SYN segment cannot carry data. That is, the initial SYN segment will not carry any data. Okay, but it consumes one sequence number. Okay, this is an important point you have to remember. Now, what is the second step? So after receiving the SYN segment from the client, now what the receiver will do? It will send the SYN plus acknowledgement. So what is the meaning of this SYN plus acknowledgement? This ACK acknowledgement is for this SYN segment. Okay, and this SYN segment is for establishing a connection from server to client. Okay, so generally what did we say? SYN segment or SYN bit is used for connection establishment. So here client requested the server about the connection establishment using SYN, but at the same time server also wanted to establish a connection with the client, right? So for this one it is also sending SYN. Then what is this acknowledgement? This acknowledgement is for this SYN. Okay, that is the server is telling the client that okay client, I received your SYN segment, so I am acknowledging your SYN segment. And it is also then this is my SYN segment, that is server is telling that this is my SYN segment, and it is sending it to the particular client. Okay, now, so here also a SYN plus acknowledgement segment also will not carry data, but it also consumes one sequence number. Okay. Now the third segment. So after server sending the SYN plus acknowledgement, now what the client again sends? The client now sends acknowledgement for this particular SYN. Okay. So for the server is asking the connection request, right? So for this connection request, it is sending the acknowledgement to the server. Okay. So initially client has requested the server for connection. Now the server has acknowledged for this request, and it also requested for the connection with the client. Now the client has acknowledged the request for connection. Okay, so three ways. In these three ways the connection establishment has been done. So this is called three-way handshaking protocol. So in the acknowledgement segment, if the acknowledgement segment is not carrying data, then it does not have any sequence number. But in the other two cases, that is, I'm just going to clear. That is, in this case, sequence number is there. In this case, sequence number is there. But in this case, the sequence number is not there unless this acknowledgement segment is going to carry some data. If it is carrying data, there will be a sequence number. If it is not carrying data, by default, it will not have any sequence number. But this segment and this segment will have a sequence number. So we completed the first segment, connection establishment. The second thing is, the second part in communication is, in TCP communication is data transfer. So after the connection establishment has been completed, now what happens? The bidirectional data transfer takes place. Okay, that is the client and server both can communicate and they can send acknowledgement. See, initially the client has sent the information, so it has sent the data bytes from 8001 to 9000. So initial, so what is this sequence number specifying? The sequence number specifying the first byte value. What is the first byte value? 8001. Okay. So it is sending acknowledgement to 15,001. That is, it has already received all the information up to 15,000. Now it is requesting for other bits. Okay, now it is also sending again another information. Okay, so it is also sending again 9000 to 10,000. Okay, now the server received this information. Now what the server is going to send? The server is going to send the acknowledgement for 10,001. Why? Because it already received the information up to 10,000. Now it is telling that I already received the information up to 10,000. Now I am expecting 10,001th byte from you. Okay, now what is this sequence number? This sequence number is for the original data sent by the server. Okay, now the server sent this information again. So now what will be the sequence number? The sequence number for this one will be again now So it has sent up to 10,000, right? So now the next byte will be 10,000. Now it is sending the information up to 17. It is sending the information for, I mean, it is sending the acknowledgement for 17,001. Why? Because it already received the information up to 17,000. So it is sending the acknowledgement for 17,001, specifying the server that server, I received the information up to 17,000 bytes, and now please send me the information further from 17,001. Okay, so this is how the dual data transfer, that is data transfer from both the sender side and receiver side, takes place. Okay, so this is data transfer. The last one is connection termination.
సార్
చెప్పండి.
సార్ ముందు సైడ్ ఒకసారి పెట్టరా?
ఇదా ఇదా
ఎస్ సార్.
చెప్పినాను.
ఇక్కడ అర్థం కాలేదు సార్. అంటే సపోజ్ ఇక్కడ సీక్వెన్స్ నెంబర్ 8001 పంపిస్తుంది క్లయింట్.
ఓకే ఓకే చెప్తా. ఇదంతా చేయమంటావా? ఇదంతా
అక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్, అక్కడ అక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్ 15,001 అంటే అర్థమైంది సార్. క్లయింట్ పంపిస్తున్న అక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్
చెప్తాను. సో ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే ఒక పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ డేటా కమ్యూనికేషన్ మనం చూస్తున్నాం. దీనికన్నా ముందు అంటే ఇక్కడ మనం చూపించేది ఏంటి, క్లయింట్ కి సర్వర్ కి మధ్య కమ్యూనికేషన్ జరుగుతుందని చూపిస్తున్నాం కదా. సో దీనికన్నా ముందు కొంత కమ్యూనికేషన్ జరిగింది. ఓకేనా, దీనికన్నా ముందు కొంత కమ్యూనికేషన్ జరిగింది. ఇక్కడ సీక్వెన్స్ నెంబర్ ఫస్ట్ పార్ట్ ఏంటి అంటే క్లయింట్ సర్వర్ కి పంపించే ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ తాలూకా సీక్వెన్స్ నెంబర్. ఓకేనా, అర్థమైందా?
ఓకే సార్,
అర్థమైందా? నెక్స్ట్ సెకండ్ పార్ట్, ఎల్లో కలర్ లో పార్ట్ ఉంది కదా, ఈ పార్ట్ ఏంటి, ఎక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్ పంపిస్తుంది. ఎవరు? క్లయింట్ సర్వర్ కి ఎక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్ పంపిస్తుంది. ఏమని? సర్వర్ నాకు ఆల్రెడీ 15,000 బైట్స్ వరకు వచ్చేసింది. సో ఇప్పుడు నాకు ఏం కావాలి, 15,001 బైట్ నుంచి నాకు కావాలి అని చెప్తుంది. అర్థమైందా?
అంటే అంటే ఈ అంటే దీనికన్నా ముందు సర్వర్ 15,000 వరకు పంపించుంటే
15,000 వరకు పంపించింది. అది డయాగ్రామ్ లో మనం చూపించలేదు. అర్థమైందా? ఓకేనా, సో అది అయిపోయింది కదా. సో ఇప్పుడు ఇది డేటా ఎక్కడి నుంచి ఎక్కడి వరకు పంపిస్తుంది క్లయింట్? ఇక్కడ చూడండి 8,001 to 9,000. కానీ మన సీక్వెన్స్ నెంబర్ ఎప్పుడు ఎలా ఉంటుంది, ఒక సెగ్మెంట్ కానీ చెప్పుకున్నాము. ఫస్ట్ బైట్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ ఫస్ట్ బైట్ అంతే కదా. సో అందుకని దాని సీక్వెన్స్ నెంబర్ ఏముంది ఇక్కడ చూసారా, ఫస్ట్ బైటే కదా ఉంది 8,001. అర్థమైందా? సో ఫస్ట్ బైట్ లో ఇంత డేటా పంపించింది. నెక్స్ట్ సెకండ్ సెగ్మెంట్ లో ఎంత పంపిస్తుంది, 9,001 to 10,000 పంపించింది. సో అందుకని ఈ సెగ్మెంట్ తాలూకా సీక్వెన్స్ నెంబర్ ఏమవుతుంది, 9,001. ద ఫస్ట్ బైట్ ఇన్ దిస్ కంప్లీట్ రేంజ్. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ అక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్ ఏం సేమ్, నాకు సర్వర్ దగ్గర నుంచి 15,000 వచ్చింది. ఇప్పుడు నాకు ఏం ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది, 15,001 ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో అప్పుడు సర్వర్ తీసుకున్న తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు చూడండి సర్వర్ ఎక్కడి నుంచి పంపించింది చూడండి. అర్థమైందా? సర్వర్ ఎక్కడి నుంచి పంపిస్తుంది, 15,001 నుంచి పంపిస్తుంది. ఇప్పుడు చూడండి సర్వర్ అక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్ పంపించింది ఎంతకి, 10,001. అంటే దీనికి ఆల్రెడీ 10,000 వరకు సర్వర్కి వచ్చేసింది ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. సో ఇప్పుడు ఇది ఏం ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది సర్వర్, 10,001 బయట నుంచి ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది. అర్థమైందా? అందుకే ఇక్కడ ఓన్లీ అక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్ ఫ్లాగ్ ఒక్కటే సెట్ అయింది. ఓకే, సో ఇప్పుడు సర్వర్ చూడండి ఎంత ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ పంపిస్తుంది, 15,000 నుంచి 17,000 వరకు. ఇక్కడ అదే కదా రిక్వెస్ట్ చేసింది క్లయింట్, చూసారా 15,001 నుంచి కావాలంది కదా. సో సర్వర్ 15,001 నుంచి 17,000 వరకు పంపించింది. సో పంపించిన తర్వాత ఈ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ క్లయింట్ తీసుకుంది. సో మళ్ళీ క్లయింట్ దగ్గర నుంచి ఏ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ కావాలని అడుగుతుంది సర్వర్, 10,000 నుంచి కావాలని అడుగుతుంది. చూసారు అక్నాలెడ్జ్మెంట్ 10,001 అంటే 10,000 వరకు ఉన్నవన్నీ వచ్చేసి నా 10,001 నుంచి పంపించు అంటే మళ్ళీ 10,001 నుంచి పంపిస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో అలా మనం ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అనేది సెండింగ్ అండ్ రిసీవింగ్ జరుగుతుంది. ఓకే నాన్న, అర్థమైందా? ఓకే, so the last concept for today's discussion, connection termination. So after connection establishment, data transfer will takes place, and in the last the connection termination will takes place. That is, the connection termination between these two parties can be at the same time or at the different times. That is, the connection termination between these two parties, that is they are exchanging data, right? That is either client can close its connection or server can close its connection. Okay, but generally the connection termination is initiated by the client. Okay, I'll explain this thing. Okay, so connection termination between client and server is both client can initiate the connection termination or server can also initiate the connection termination, but generally client will only initiate the connection termination. So most of the implementations for connection termination can be done in two ways, that is three-way handshaking and four-way handshaking. Four-way handshake means half close option. That is, I'll say you what is half close option now. Okay, so if you see here in the three-way handshaking, what it will do, now this diagram is for connection termination. Okay, So if you see, active close means now client initiated the connection termination request. Okay. So it has sent a sequence number X and it is sending some acknowledgement number with Y. See, if you see here, this F bit is set now. F means fin bit. Why fin bit is used? Fin bit is used to terminate the connection. So in this segment, the client is trying to tell the server that it wants to terminate its connection. Okay. So when this information is received by the server, now the server, what it is going to do, it is also again trying to set the fin bit of its own segment, and it is going to acknowledge the fin bit of the client. Okay. For this reason, we have both fin plus acknowledgement. So when it gives this one, okay, now again, that is this reaches to the client. Now the client is going to acknowledge for this fin bit. Okay. So now this information reaches to the server, and both client and server terminates their connection. So this is three-way handshaking. So in the three-way handshaking, how we have used three-way handshaking for connection establishment. For the same way, we use three-way handshaking for connection release also. That is, client send the request, server accepts and acknowledges, and it sends its own request, and again the client acknowledges. So this is a three-way handshake of connection termination. So this is connection termination at both sides. That is, after connection termination at both sides, there will be no data transfer from here onwards. Okay. But there are some cases where only client wants to send the information or server wants to send the information. Okay. So we'll see what is the half close. Okay. If you see, initially client wants to close its connection, so it is sending the fin segment. Okay. Now this information is received by the server. Okay. Now if you see, the server is only acknowledging, it is not going to set its fin bit, right? So the fin bit is not active here. That is, the communication from server to client continues, but only the communication from client to server will be terminated, because the client initiated the termination request and it reached the server. The server has only acknowledged the termination request of the client. Okay. That is, there will be no data transfer from this to this place. Okay. But there is data transfer from server to client. The data transfer from server to client happens here. Okay. So this is happening. So but from here to here, there is no communication. Okay. So if you see here, so later it has already completed, and at some time now again server wanted to close its connection, and again it has sent it F segment with F bit set. So it receives the information. Now the client acknowledges for this fin bit, and it is also going to acknowledge this one, and finally the connection has been terminated. Now no data transfer will take place. So this is how half close connection. So this is a four-way handshaking protocol, because four segments are here shared with each other. Okay. So this is how connection establishment, connection data transfer, and connection termination will be happen.